It's real funny how people will look at us, child-free people, and say that we're selfish for not wanting to have children, and yet the act of having children is what's selfish.
Nobody gets pregnant more or have kids more than people that are struggling.
A lot of y'all have kids back to back because that's the only milestone y'all can reach, and it's the only time you feel special.
If I was a woman, I wouldn't want to have a child later.
I don't understand how you don't want your legacy to be carried on, bro. Like,
my legacy is me. My legacy is not my kids. My legacy is me. My legacy is my show. My legacy is Amani.
So I want to talk about my issues with preserving legacy being at the forefront of, procreation, or let me say how people justify procreation. Okay, let's start this bad boy.
If you're not going to have kids, you better have a damn good reason. And I don't have kids, but I'm hyper aware that I have to account for that because it's what nature wants me to do. And so if I'm not going to do it, then I better find what the thing is that's going to give me meaning and purpose and all of that.
I do not want a whole other human to crawl out of me. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I don't want. I refuse. I want to live alone. I want to die alone. Leave me to it. It's what nature wants him to do. Well, nature's... You are aware that there's inflation. You are aware of capitalism. You know about the mess we are in, all right? Why do you want me to have a child, nature? It's time for you to stand up to nature. Everywhere on TikTok, people are having debates about whether or not it is better for women, especially younger women, to have children. The child-free movement is alive and well, and of course, it's rubbing some people the wrong way, but it is also, in my opinion, very necessary. I love that women are able to have these conversations in this day and age. But what I want to talk about today is legacy. I want to discuss why we feel like us having children is so important and so monumental, and this idea we have that it adds value, that children are extensions of ourselves, that they are a representation of our successes as parents. I'm not a parent, by the way, let me make that clear. That they are a representation of a parent's success, that they are supposed to carry on the family name. I'll be reading from a script, so I'll look away here and there. Do not judge, okay? Okay, so let's talk about the so-called legacy you keep yammering on about. Why did I say that? See? That bloodline you swear has to be preserved.
You are a normal, regular civilian. Act like it.
As if humanity will collapse if your surname doesn't survive another 50 years. A wise commentator once said, "We are just as scared of living as we are of dying." And honestly, that's sociology in one sentence. Fear of irrelevance, fear of immortality, which is why legacy is really about kids. It's really about ego. Ernest Burger, in his classic text, The Denial of Death, calls this an immortality project. The delusion that you can cheat death by attaching your existence to something that outlives you. For many people, that something is children. Not libraries, not art, not inventions, God forbid. Just more humans who probably forget you after 2 generations anyway. Let's talk about religion, culture, and the command to multiply. Now, according to Genesis 1:8, the divine instruction is clear: be fruitful and multiply. This line has been cited for centuries as justification for unchecked reproduction. In Abrahamic religions, fertility is framed as holy duty. In African traditions, fertility is equally sacred. Men prove their worth through how many children they sire, not necessarily how well they raise them, which would actually be helpful. That would be good. That would actually fix a lot of problems. Anthropologist Jack Goody noted in Production and Reproduction that across many cultures, procreation is less about love or companionship and more about lineage, inheritance, and labor. So you see men bragging today about multiple wives and mistresses, not because they're committed to family values, but because they think scattering children everywhere makes them real men. This is not tradition. This is just patriarchy cosplaying as legacy. And then we have good old gender, fertility, and power. Of course, the burden of reproduction falls disproportionately on women. Feminist scholar Adrienne Rich in Of Woman Born argues that while motherhood has deep creative potential, it has historically been weaponized as a tool of control. Women who cannot conceive are stigmatized, they're shamed or accused of witchcraft. Meanwhile, men facing infertility often refuse medical evaluation because admitting it would damage their masculinity. And even when women do have children, the patriarchal scorecard keeps going. Boys are celebrated as heirs. Girls are often dismissed as burdens.
Girls aggravate my soul. I don't like y'all. Me and my boys would have been in these streets, baby. You see them two boys out there? Hard-working men. I raise men by myself. They don't ask me for this. Here come my daughters, mom, mama, mommy, mom. Do you got, can I get? Do you got, can I get? Mommy, do you got, can I get? That's why. Fuck.
As a young kid, I was always referred to as the father of the house because I carried the family name. So the only benefits to the family of a girl child was the cows.
Still that huge focus on a male child. I mean, even our government is trying to incentivize families to have girl children, which is, okay, a very laudable thing, but then until it comes from within, that a girl child is as important and as joyous as a male child, you are not going to be able to get away from these skewed gender populations that we have in different parts of the country.
They are counting you as cows.
Sociologist Judith Stacy writes, reproduction under patriarchy isn't about family, it's about power, it's about lineage and keeping women's bodies under control. Let's talk about the structural cost of unquestioned procreation. Beyond gender, the pressure to produce creates systematic inequality. Religion often discourages contraception. Schools fail to provide comprehensive sex education. The result? Large families formed not through choice but through obligation. Think about the infamous black tax. The expectation in many African families and even non-African families that children must support not only themselves but their parents, their siblings and their extended relatives. Economist Sampi Terreblanche, I hope I pronounced that right. I don't think I did. It is more likely that I did not. But economist Sampi Terreblanche argues in his work on South African inequality that this expectation traps new generations in cycles of dependency. When children are born not into opportunity but into obligation, they become instruments of survival and not beneficiaries of love.
My mom was not the greatest loving mom. Seeing her struggle as a single parent, I heard the worst of it. I've heard I should have left out in the garbage when I had to. No shit on my mom. But at the time, it really did feel like mental abuse. And I saw how she struggled. And I also saw how the people around me who had kids didn't look happy.
And yet, society still frames this as a blessing.
Kids are literally the best thing that is going to happen to you. You should start earlier than you think that you are ready. Having kids will actually make you ready because when you have that forcing function in your life of kids, you will do whatever it takes for these little human beings.
And of course, we have the longest ongoing fight in human history. Humans versus the planet.
Okay, this is why I was on the side of the apes on Planet of the Apes, okay? They will probably do a way better job than us of actually not like flipping killing the earth.
Anyway, philosopher John Gray in Straw Dogs makes a provocative claim that humans vastly overestimate their importance to the planet. If humanity disappeared tomorrow, ecosystems would regenerate. Forests would reclaim cities, species would flourish, Earth would breathe again. Our egos as humans refuses this truth. We tell ourselves we must survive, otherwise life would not have meaning. In reality, what makes us special, language, cognition, abstract thought, has allowed us to invent iPhones, sure, but also war, pollution, and climate collapse.
Materials needed to make the weapons that are used to fight in other conflict zones are sourced from Congo. It's only by controlling the minerals coming out of Congo that we can actually control the weapons that can be used elsewhere in the world.
As environmental historian George Diamond reminds us in Collapse, civilizations that reproduce without restraint and ignore sustainability tend to destroy themselves. So if Neanderthals could go extinct, why couldn't we? So what happens when we procreate without reflection? Children become tools for adults' insecurities, ego, and tradition. They are brought into unstable homes, to societies that lack healthcare and education, into economies where jobs are scarce and inequality is rampant. Philosopher Simone de Beauvoir, I pronounced her name wrong. I definitely did. It's not even a question. I am sorry, Simone de Beauvoir. Simone, the philosopher, once argued that bringing children into the world without ensuring their dignity is an act of bad faith. I agree. Simone, my girl, I agree. The tragedy is that children don't ask for any of this. They don't ask to inherit poverty, trauma, economic collapse, patriarchy, none of it. Yet when people reproduce for legacy, that is exactly what they inherit. Actually, in a lot of cases, that is all they can inherit. My conclusion, procreation without the betterment of society in mind is not love. It is negligence disguised. It is negligence disguised as tradition.
You can't bring a kid into this world without knowing if you can give them. Do you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this.
I can. Everyone's living on top of each other in council properties, and nobody wants to move out to the sticks or whatever because their family network and support's there. All of that stuff, yeah, no offense to anyone, it just doesn't make any sense in my head, logically, to sit down and plan to have children.
Yeah.
It sustains patriarchy, burdens children with obligations they never agreed to, and accelerates ecological collapse. Legacy should not be measured by how many descendants carry your surname, but by what kinds of world they inherit. If we leave behind nothing but debt, inequality, and pollution, the multiplying is not fruitful, it's harmful. Sociologist Max Weber once wrote about the ethic of responsibility. That's what reproduction should be. Not an immortality project, not an ego trip, a responsibility.
But we get to create these souls that we're in charge of.
And we get to guide them.
Bone of my bone, they are our blood, and we get to take them into heaven and present them to God and say, look what we did with what you gave us, which is life.
So before bragging about your bloodline, ask, is the world I'm bringing children into worth preserving? If the answer is no, then legacy lies not in multiplication, but in transformation. This is me tricking you into becoming an environmentalist. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, because I need you to. I told you to, so do it. Cue the intro. As previously discussed, there are lots of women on TikTok who constantly tell women that not having children is something that they will live to regret. That having children gives women a purpose, it gives them value, and all of that jazz. People online who, because of religion or because of culture, tradition, anything else, believe that a childless woman is somebody who is not advancing society or whatever else. But yeah, what am I even saying? We cannot talk about being child-free without talking about how many women open up about regretting they have children online on the daily. They are on Reddit forums, they are on TikTok, they're on Instagram, talking about how much they wish they had not had children, about how they had children because they were pressured, about how society pushed them into that decision, making them believe that they would have all types of help, whether it was their husband, their lover, or anybody else, who convinced them that they would have a family unit, a family structure, that they would be raising their child in a home, and come to find out that no, it would be a way harder battle than they initially thought. Them having children has been a cost to their mental health, their financial health, and I do not think a lot of the women who tell women who don't want to, give birth and all of that they will regret it, think about those women, that they have those women in mind. Or I believe that they just tell those women that they're selfish, that it's wrong for them to just not be naturally maternal, because people always say this about women, that we are inherently maternal, that all women have maternal instincts. But I do not think that is true. Because of patriarchy, being maternal is seen as, being somebody who cares inherently, somebody who gives inherently. I feel like women who are contributing to declining birth rates are doing a service. I believe that they are actually leaving behind a good legacy. You are somebody who's not all there mentally and emotionally. You not having a child is good. You're doing good.
People always ask how I know I don't want to have children or be a mother, and I feel like I always hear the typical answers. I don't want to put my body through pregnancy. I don't want to bring a child into the current state of this world, which I completely agree with and also subscribe to those beliefs. But I think I want to even pull back and make it even more simple. And I think the idea just boils down to I am genuinely excited, eager, and joyful at the idea of getting to be a part of someone's village rather than being the mother of that said child. I'm more excited at the idea of getting to pour into my family and friends who decide to have children rather than being the one poured into. It's like the idea of being an auntie, someone who's buying extra birthday and Christmas gifts for you and your child, someone you can call at 2 a.m. when there's an emergency. The idea of, the kids are staying at Auntie Elisa's house for 2 weeks this summer. And I think it's because I get to do my duty. I get to do work on something, and then I get to leave. I get to be done with it until, of course, you need me again. Like, I'm genuinely so eager to be that rather than being a mother. And I think it's because of who I am and the way my brain works. I like living my life in arcs in the sense that I like having a beginning and an end, kind of like chapters or seasons. I just like knowing I have something to work towards. And I think what's different for that when it comes to motherhood or parenthood is that once you become a mother, you never stop. No matter what happens after you birth that child, you are still always going to be a mother. And I think the open-endedness of motherhood, of parenthood, is something that I just can't comprehend, but it's not at all hard for me to understand the idea of being an active member of a child's life for the rest of my life. So yeah, I can't wait to be Auntie Elise to the several children that I know will be a part of my future. My cousin actually recently had a baby at the beginning of this year, and her middle name is my name. But yeah, I'm excited to be a part of the village. I have no desires to be the head of the village. Child free!
I get a point about not wanting to be the head of a village. I don't think I could handle that. The mental strain. Want to have the option to leave. I want to have the option to say this is too much for me and I'm stepping out. And I cannot do that. I cannot do that to a child. I would far rather be an aunt like her. Like, even being an aunt is too much. Like, I have to bond with all of these people. I have to get to know them and all of that, build relationships with them, try to be there for the holidays. It is already a lot. Imagine if I had my own little goober, like somebody I made, a living, breathing human being who depends on me. I cannot take the fact that I am dependent on me. It is too much for me. I am too much for me. Imagine if somebody was part of this equation, this very messy, unnecessary equation. Suffering, turmoil, chaos, trauma, all of the words.